Let's see what's out there.
Hello and welcome to Home Media Minefield presents Let's See What's Out There, a weekly video stream and podcast currently focused on Star Trek Picard Season 3, which is available to watch on Paramount Plus and Amazon Prime. My name's Keith Isles, and as ever I am joined by
Pete Mealy.
And we are both film and television enthusiasts. And in today's episode, we are going to have a spoiler-filled conversation around part 5 of season 3, entitled Imposters. So are you ready for this one, Pete?
Oh, so ready.
Yes. Well, we've tried to get in there quick this time because it's such a key episode that we wanted to get this in sooner rather than later, and I've only had a chance to watch it once, but I have thought a lot about it, and I'm reeling still from it. So it'll be good to see what you think as well, Pete. But if you are new to this channel, then welcome. As I said, we focus purely on film and television. We cover all sorts of things, Star Trek being just one of them. But we do have a slight format to the show. It's all a bit of fun, really. As I said, we will be covering spoilers for not only this episode, but the series so far. So we do a quick summary. We look at some of the production credits, behind the scenes, etc. Have a little bit of fun looking at any connections, Easter eggs and references and things of that nature. Then we have a little bit of speculation, and then our thoughts and any nitpicks, plus our rank pin rating. So and then we can tell you where you can find us. So as I said, if you do like this, please do give us a thumbs up, give us a like, consider subscribing to the channel. If you hit the bell icon, you'll get notified as and when various content drops. And if you're listening to us on a podcast, please do give us a review and whatever, because it all helps us find more audience, which would be very helpful. So, without further ado, let's get into it and engage.
Jack Crusher has some weird and foreboding flashback, flash forward dream sequence thing where he's killing members of the crew. He does this a bunch throughout the episode. Riker transfers control of the Titan back to Shaw, who admits he already has called in the cavalry, who are showing up right now and want to question everyone. The security team shows up, and it's led by Ro Laren. But is it? There's certainly tension, but no one seems to be mentioning that Ro Laren and Riker slept together in the past, so I'm not quite sure. Beverly Crusher autopsies the dead changeling and discovers that it seems to have evolved to the point where it can bleed and it doesn't lose its shape when it dies. But Ro Laren just did the blood test to prove she isn't a changeling. So is she? She isn't wearing her family earring. Meanwhile, Worf and Raffi try to track down another shady figure, a gangster Vulcan, who sets up a death match between Raffi and Worf, which Raffi wins by killing Worf. But just as the Vulcan is telling Raffi how bad it will be for her, Worf kills all the henchmen and holds a knife to the Vulcan's throat. Kahless wins, and the Vulcan says he will get Raffi and Worf into the Daystrom Institute so they can find out what else was stolen. Ro and Picard stop off in 10 forward, for a heart-to-heart, and Ro and Picard trust each other now. Ro tells him to take the Titan with a skeleton crew and figure out what is happening. She gives him her Bajoran family earring and leaves. Her backup goons look surprised to be leaving without Jack Crusher. So surprised, they beam off her shuttle and plant a bomb. The bomb leaves Ro enough time to say goodbye and tell Picard to figure it out. 5 changelings beam onto the Titan and try to abduct Jack, but he kills them all. The Titan starts to run. Starfleet pursues. Picard discovers Ro's earring is actually a data cell, and it has all her notes on changeling infiltration into Starfleet and the Federation. Then Worf tries to call his handler, who was Ro Laren, and the call directs to Picard. Beverly and Jack discuss the 5 changelings he killed, how hard that must have been, and how could he be known that they were all changelings. Knowing look, ominous music, and we'll have to find out more next time.
Excellent summary there, Pete. Love it. It's really exciting stuff. So yeah, love. Can't wait to get into this. But yeah, really good summary of that. So anyway, next up, it's time to make it so. Okay, so this is the part of the show where we just have a quick look at the some of the main credits for this episode. So this episode was directed by Dan Liu. Dan's previous credits involve directing of the Walking Dead franchise. He has, in fact, directed Fear the Walking Dead, several episodes of that. The main series, The Walking Dead, also Walking Dead World Beyond, as well as having directed episodes of Strange New Worlds for the Star Trek franchise, For All Mankind for Ronald D. Moore, and NCIS Los Angeles before being the director of, it says 2 episodes here of Star Trek Picard. So I'm assuming he might well be doing next week's as well, as they do tend to do double duties with these things, but we will see. In terms of the writing credits, this is credited as being co-written by Cindy Appel and Christopher B. Derrick. Cindy, we obviously talked about a couple of weeks back because she was involved in writing that episode, but Christopher B. Derrick, I don't know whether we've discussed his work before on this show. I mean, looking at his notable credits, it seems really that his main credit is as a story editor for 11 episodes on the TV series version of The Equalizer, the new rebooted version that's not connected to the Edward Woodward series or the Denzel Washington movies, but this one, in fact, stars Queen Latifah as the title character. I've not actually seen any of the new Equalizer yet, but it does seem that that's been Derrick's main involvement before being a staff writer on Star Trek Picard, and it looks like he was actually involved in last season on that as well. So that's good. We usually talk more about the behind the scenes people, but we couldn't not mention, I feel, this episode, our very surprise special guest star in Michelle Forbes, who came back playing, well, now Commander Ro Laren, but obviously we knew her as Ensign Ro for way back in Star Trek The Next Generation. She was actually involved pretty much up until the end of the series. She came in quite late on it, but her final episode, which I think was called Preemptive Strike, was literally the penultimate episode of Star Trek The Next Generation. So when they say it's been 30 years, it kind of literally has, both in the show and in reality. But in terms of looking, I mean, she's obviously got hundreds of credits. First thing I remember in was the 1993 movie California, starring Brad Pitt, Juliette Lewis, and David Duchovny. She was in there, but has done a huge amount in television over the years. Things like Homicide: Life on the Street, where she played Dr. Juliana Cox. She was in TV shows such as 24. She was in one of the seasons of that, playing Lynn Kresge. She was also in Alias, playing Dr. Maggie Sinclair. She was in Prison Break, which is another great show, playing Samantha Brinker. She was, of course, in one of my favorite shows, Battlestar Galactica, where she played Admiral Kane in that show, and the spin-off TV movie from that. She was also Sarah in The Walking Dead, Karen Decker in Lost. She's been in Treatment, True Blood, The Killing, oh, Chicago Fire, Orphan Black, Treadstone, New Amsterdam, and now in Picard. And that is literally just cherry picking at her credits. This actress has done a lot of work, and it was fantastic to see her back on this. So there you go. I could ramble on forever on that, but I thought I'd better stop.
Did you say The Killing?
Yes, I think the remake of the obviously, which was a Nordic show originally, but they remade. Let me just double check that. I'm looking on IMDb here, which is obviously always 100% correct. Yeah. let me just make sure I didn't misread that. Oh, you've asked me.
No,
now.
you're right. You're right. I just looked it up.
Yeah. Okay.
She was on the remake.
Yes.
Why I'm so surprised is because when she first showed up on the screen yesterday in Picard, I went, they got the Admiral from Discovery back, right? Like, I thought it was that actress, right?
You're right. Right. Yes. Yeah.
And so I was like,
Jennifer Cornwell. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what the actress's name is. Yeah. Admiral Cornwell, but I can't remember who played her now. Oh.
Anyway, but so what's crazy about that to me is that, like, I didn't realize it was Ro Laren until they said Ro Laren. And then I was like, right. And now you're listing all of her credits, and it's like all shows I've seen, and I did not realize she was in them. And right. I think it's just like my face blindness.
Yeah.
Or like I can only recognize her with a Bajoran earring on or something.
Yeah. I have to say I've been most of those shows she's in. I'm a huge fan of and have been over the years. And yeah, ever since she sort of cropped up in the 90s with California and with Next Gen, I've sort of really enjoyed any time I've seen her crop up in anything as either a guest star or a regular. It's always been good. She knocks out a fantastic performance every time. So that was definitely a highlight of this, which I didn't see coming. But
I did not. I was so surprised.
We'll obviously get into that. But for now, it's time for some tea, Earl Grey, hot. Okay, so it's Easter egg time.
I think I only have one real Easter egg.
Okay.
Which was that in the first opening seconds, as there's a shot of space that then pulls into the bridge. I think they played one of the original TOS bridge boop sounds.
Right.
Did you hear that too or no?
Yeah, I think they had all the original sort of bridge sounds and stuff on there, which they, to be fair to Star Trek, they've tended to sort of keep that fairly consistent, haven't they? Even Discovery, which looked radically different, had those bridge sounds and whatever. So,
but I thought that Next Generation always had more updated sounds. TOS had very TOS sounds, and
right,
and so that's why I was surprised, because it felt like they put in a throwback audio there.
Right. Yeah, quite possibly. Any others that sort of stood out?
There's the Picard Riker rap sheet that Shaw lists off.
Which we need to talk about that, actually.
Okay.
I loved it though. I did love that. But yes.
Yeah.
It's cool. All right. Well, I grabbed a few images. I mean, obviously, the key one being, as we've already mentioned, the return of Ro Laren, if you like, a really good, completion of her story arc and her character arc, dating right back. I mean, even the play of the Bajoran earring, which obviously ended up being having information on it here, but also it's almost full circle, because that was the thing Picard first pulled her up on when she became an ensign and joined the Enterprise. So I like the sort of symbolic nature of that and the way that came back around. And I'm sure we'll get way into that in our discussions. We also, Raffi used in this a 29th century mobile emitter, like the one that the Doctor used in Star Trek Voyager. And I think one of the characters in last season used this as well. She uses that as the sort of subterfuge with the Vulcan. So that was a bit of a callback. Obviously, we've got. Well, I tried to find an image there that included two things. So obviously, Worf's dagger is the sort of classic Klingon dagger that we've seen in. I think it may be the first time we saw it was Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock, but it's obviously been a sort of staple. But also the blood tests. During the Dominion War in the Deep Space Nine series and whatever. One of the ways that they would check that somebody wasn't a changeling was by doing the blood test there and cutting the hand. You interestingly pointed out last week that Sydney LaForge, when they shot her, she didn't vaporize like normal or turn into the sort of normal goo substance of a changeling, and obviously that ended up being a complete story point for this episode.
Loved it.
Which I loved, with the fact that they can actually they've evolved to be able to replicate a whoever they impersonate more closely, right down to blood and internal organs and whatever, which do not sort of jellify until some hours after death and all of that sort of thing. So I thought that was that was quite interesting and very spooky, because this makes changelings even harder to spot. In we've got the real Terminator vibe going on here, haven't we? That you can't spot who they are. And then of course I've got a picture of Kate Mulgrew there as Catherine Janeway, because of course Admiral Janeway gets another name drop. She had a name drop the other week and gets another name drop this week. And maybe I should have saved this for speculation, Pete, but I just wondered your thoughts on this. As Kate Mulgrew is very active in Star Trek by doing the voice for Janeway on Star Trek Prodigy, do you think, as we're sort of getting all sorts of cameo appearances and appearances of people, do you think we're likely to see Admiral Janeway at some point over this season? What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I would love it, but I just don't think so. I don't know why my initial gut reaction is no.
Okay, fair enough. The other thing that you correctly mentioned is some of Shaw's drops when Riker's saying that they've saved the galaxy on several occasions, and he says about them hot dropping the saucer section of Enterprise D on a planet, which of course is from Star Trek Generations, and the time they threw the Prime Directive out of the window so he could snog a villager on Baku was Star Trek Insurrection. And then he said something about that. This is the one I have a slight nerdy problem with, even though I love the reference. So the time you boys wiped out humanity by creating a time paradox in the Devron system is of course from the excellent Next Generation series finale, All Good Things, right? But unless I'm mistaken, I thought, because this was all being manipulated by Q, I thought at the end when they reset everything, it meant that event didn't actually happen. So even though I love the Easter egg, I'm wondering whether it's actually a bit of a mistake. I don't know. I might be completely wrong on that. If anybody wants to, write in,
I thought
I'm open to it.
And I did watch All Good Things before season 3 started. But I thought that what didn't happen in All Good Things is the future that we see.
Right.
But the actual incident in the present timeline where Picard goes to the Devron system, that was canonical.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm sure I'm sure that Terry Metalis and his team wouldn't have made a mistake. So, as I said, it was just something that entered my head when I watched it last night, and I haven't obviously. I try not to read anything until after we've done this show. So, you are probably absolutely right. In which case, what a great Easter egg that is. So I love it. Of course, Guinan gets name dropped as well, which is quite relevant because Ro got on quite well with Guinan, as I remember. They would often talk in 10 forward. And then a bit of a reference, which isn't really a Star Trek one as such, but we talk about how Terry Metalis likes to, throw 12 Monkeys references in there from that TV show. And the Vulcan gangster Kryn, who is wearing an Idic, by the way. I thought of you when I saw that, Pete.
Oh, I didn't see that.
He was wearing an Idic piece of jewelry around his neck, but that was played by I think it's pronounced Kirk Acevedo. Acevedo. I don't know how exactly you pronounce it. I know Kirk's work from he was in the show Fringe. He was a regular on that. But he also was in 12 Monkeys, the TV series, along with Todd Stashwick, who plays Shaw. So again, it's getting his showing loyalty to the actors he's worked with before, and I always like that sort of thing. So yeah, I did notice that, but I'm sure there are loads of other Easter eggs that I didn't really pick up on. But the bit I was so happy with was the Ro Laren. The continuation of her story and the addressing the fact that she went, and joined the Marquis and sort of betrayed Picard in that respect, and all of that sort of thing. I thought that was absolutely wonderful, particularly the fact that they set it up that for the first half we're definitely thinking, yeah, she's a changeling, all this sort of thing, and then once they get in 10 forward, which as I said, we'll get into all that because I'm jumping ahead here. But yeah, absolutely loved all that. I didn't. You dropped in the summary that did she sleep with Will Riker? I don't remember this.
Oh, she 100% did. It was the episode where the crew wakes up and they have no memory of who they are or what they're doing, and so Riker assumes he's the commander, and Picard assumes that he's like the janitor or something, right?
Oh, right. So, I'll have to rewatch that one because I don't actually remember. When you said it, I was like, "Oh, did they?" Oh, I don't remember.
100%. Yeah.
All right.
Fine. Conundrum is the episode. There we go.
All right. I'll
little bit of Googling.
I will check that one out. I do, like I always caveat in this is I'm very much a Star Trek enthusiast. Been a Star Trek fan, of the movies and shows all of my life, but I'm not a completist or an expert in any of it. And I always point that out. I still learn stuff about Star Trek every day, and that's one of the reasons that I love all of this so much. So so no problem at all.
Yeah.
Well then, are you seeing any lights today?
Yeah, there are 4 lights.
Okay, so speculation time. Do you have anything? This I mean, I've kind of ruined the Captain Janeway thing already. Oh, sorry, the Admiral Janeway thing. But I just wonder whether that might be an option. But
no stress.
Any other stuff?
That's your feeling. Yeah, I've got a ton. Right.
Great.
Now I can be way off, but I don't think Beverly Crusher is actually Beverly Crusher. I don't think Jack Crusher is his kid.
Right.
And I think we're gonna find that out in the coming bits.
Okay, so I mean, we did touch on that last week as well.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
but we were trying to, because every time I think something, the more I look into it, in terms of the more I think about it, the more it's like, well, that can't make sense because they remember this or they reference that or they do. So what is it this week that's particularly got you down this train of thought?
it was the very last scene where Beverly and Jack are just like looking at each other, and Beverly seems to be goading him on.
Because he says,
and
"Mum, there's something seriously wrong with me," doesn't he? That's his last line, I believe.
yeah, and she's also like, when she goes, "How did you know they were changelings?" Right? Like, he's like, "I don't know, I just felt it," and he was like, "Ah," right? And so, I was like, okay, they're playing up something there.
Yeah, for sure. I've just been really racking my brains trying to figure out what. And I've been trying to avoid. I know there are various theories online, but again, I've been trying to avoid those because
I
sometimes
haven't seen them. Yeah,
sometimes they can be spoilerific, and also I kind of like to try and connect my own dots for this show. But yeah, I mean, we joked last week, didn't we, about the voice saying "Find me" is actually Michael Burnham, the Red Angel.
although this week it 100% sounded like Amanda Plummer. Did you think so or no?
Well, because Amanda Plummer is obviously who's been trying to capture him this whole time, and yeah, I really, I've been going around in a circle with it. It's funny when I was trying to get, as you know, the only thing I do prior to us chatting about this after watching an episode is I try and make up these slides just to try and make the YouTube portion of what we're doing a bit more interesting than just our faces, yeah, and all this. And what I usually do for that is I look and I try and find copyright free images that I can just use as prompt points and visual stimuli. And it was actually quite
you
funny.
do a great job.
Oh, well, thanks. I try and I do it very quickly, and I just try and sort of throw it together, really. But I found an image when I was looking for something here, and it really got me thinking. Right. So before I put up the image, let's just talk about this. So it's great that they're sort of trying to connect all the dots from previous Star Trek, the fact we get Ensign Ro, that was or Ro Laren, sorry, which was completely unexpected. We've had her come. We know that there are other familiar faces from Star Trek coming. By the way, when he looked at her earring and the data files on it, you once again had the picture of the Enterprise F being decommissioned. So I am almost certain, like all along, that Geordie or whoever turns up is going to turn up on the Enterprise F. I really, really hope that they're going to do that. I think they put a lot of little Easter eggs in about that, so it does make me think maybe they'll do that.
We're getting one more Enterprise swan song.
Exactly, but here's the thing. So, and bear with me here because I was really trying to connect the dots in my head. If we're going to try and connect back to other Picard seasons as well, which they seem to be doing, they're not ignoring season 1 and 2 and just going back to the classic stuff. They're sort of incorporating the series, the movies, the other series, like, of course, Deep Space Nine and mentions of Janeway from Voyager and all of this other stuff. And what got me thinking when I saw this image was, I'm going to put the image up now. Soji, okay, Soji, who is obviously a android that was made to look more human than androids we've seen before, and was unaware that she was an android at the beginning of the show, and showed superior fighting skills and all of these things. And so I was looking for a picture of Soji. We last saw an episode in series 2. She went off with Wesley Crusher to be a traveler, right? To join the travelers. Okay.
Oh yeah.
And obviously we've seen from promotional imagery that Brent Spiner, they're going to try and shoehorn Brent Spiner into yet another Star Trek series like they always seem to, right? And so obviously the whole thing about androids and whatever will potentially come into this with, there's still things that we don't know what they stole from the Daystrom Institute, etc. But what I found quite bizarre here is when I found this picture, I just put in Soji from Star Trek Picard. And of course, this image came up, which has got, remember those tentacle things from the future? And
yeah,
if you notice, they're red. Okay. And he keeps seeing red branches and stuff, and his eyes glowed red. And obviously, he took like 6 Starfleet officers out as if they weren't even in the same area. He just kind
changelings too.
Yeah, and I just sort of thought, well, I wonder if he's maybe somehow, I don't know how, I can't make this make sense in my head, but I'm just wondering if there's some sort of link to human-looking androids and anything that happened in previous Picard, because obviously season 1 was all about that, wasn't it? Oh
my God,
Brent Spiner's got to come back somehow, and I don't know. I don't really know what I'm talking about. I can't make this theory connect. It's just something that popped in my head.
Here it is. Jack Crusher is not Picard's son. Jack Crusher is synthetic Picard body, android father. And that's the flip, is that Jack Crusher's synthetic body was the prototype for the synthetic body that Picard gets. And so at the end, he is the father and Picard is the son.
Interesting.
I would also, like I want to call out that in episode 1, I think I was like, oh, the handler is the AI from earlier seasons, and so I bet you that AI, because they do keep talking about the AI guarding Daystrom Institute. We're gonna get more AI that ties in here.
Yeah, well, maybe, as I said, and I don't know whether the actress is it Iona Bryan. I can't remember her name. Briones, Iona Briones, who plays
Issa Briones.
Issa Briones, who played Soji, as well as a number of other characters. Whether she's gonna, because she was obviously a regular on the first 2 seasons of Picard, whether or not she's gonna come back.
Just the first season.
Well, she was in the second season, wasn't she?
She wasn't a regular. She had 1 scene.
Well, she was in a couple of episodes, wasn't she? She was Brent Spiner, evil Brent Spiner's child or whatever, right?
I forgot about that.
Who ends up going off with Wesley. Again, you see another Crusher connection. Wesley.
Yeah.
But how that fits in with Beverly and the stuff they've referenced, I've no idea. As I said, that it's well, that's why we do it. It's just a bit of fun, isn't it? But I don't know. Don't know. Any further speculation before we sort of dig into thoughts, nitpicks, etc.?
No, I think that's it.
All right. So we'll draw a line. The line must be drawn here. Alrighty. So, Pete, I'm going to ask you, because you haven't been particularly on board with Picard season 3 so far. I think it's fair to say that you've had your problems with it. How did part 5 fare up for you?
I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And it 100%, like, it fixed so many things, right? Where I was like, oh, that's kind of annoying me. And then it started to make sense. When Worf got killed, I was like, oh, that's so stupid, right? Like, come on. That is such a dumb, like, no. I was so mad for that one moment, right? But I was still like, there's so much good stuff in this show, but I can't believe they had to like cheap out and kill Worf. Like, it like in my mind, I was like, no, Worf the Warrior would have had an alternate plan, and they wouldn't have just like let themselves get thrown into a death match and die. Like, it's so dumb. And then when he came back, I was like, yes, that's exactly what he would have done. See, he would have had another plan. And so like there was 3 moments in this show where like while I was watching it, I was like, and so
I mean that's kind of been the beauty of what they've been doing here, I think, because this show, I mean, whether you like it or not, one thing I think we could say is it's not predictable. I haven't found anything predictable really in this. So when they do something like, I said when they do something like that, when they do something like that for a second, because they've been, doing things that you don't expect, you do think for a second, oh Christ, have they really done that? Have they really gone there? Have they really, so it wasn't obvious it was a fake out. It was for a second you think, oh wow, is that
no,
the direction they've gone? And
I 100% was like, oh, they killed Worf, right? And I will say that one of the weird things that I saw online was where somebody was like, season 1 they killed Data, season 2 they killed Q, season 3 Worf is dying, right? And I was like, oh no. And then he died in this episode, and I was like, come on, they could have done better. But yeah,
they subverted the expectation, which is good. It's
good. I was so happy. And it wasn't like they subverted it with Tribble blood, right, or something stupid. They made it make sense that like, yeah, Worf, trained in the Kahless way or whatever, knew how to lower his heartbeat, and I was like, yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, with Worf, you believe that kind of thing, don't you? It's like, Worf is,
and that they would have planned it, that they would have been like, oh, this is what we need to do, right? Like, to get the upper hand, you can kill me, like they could have had that conversation, and that would have been the plan walking in, and it makes perfect sense.
Yeah. No, I agree. It was really, really, really well done. I'm so glad that they've now joined the 2 storylines up as well. So you've got Raffi and Worf. Sorry, I didn't say Kirk. You've got Raffi and Worf joining up with the others is going to happen, isn't it? That's inevitable now. We've seen the communication, so that's going to happen. I mean, are they going to contact Geordie? He's going to get the, he's running the museum or whatever, so he's going to get the newly decommissioned Enterprise F, and they're all going to jump aboard that with the help of his other daughter, because we do know that LeVar Burton's real life daughter is going to be in this as well.
I didn't know that.
And come and pick these guys up from the Titan. But the whole Ro Laren stuff, I loved everything about it. I really did. I really loved because that was one I don't think anybody could have predicted that. Of all the people you think are going to show up from the past, Ro Laren was not the obvious choice at all.
But it was a great choice.
She'd gone off with the Marquis, and just the fact she was back, and there was real suspicion around it to start with as to whether she was a changeling, when she's doing the interrogation, and I just thought I loved the scene in 10 Forward. or in the holodeck, shall I say, of 10 forward.
Yeah.
Between her and Picard, I just loved that scene. I thought it was well written, well acted, and really satisfying as a fan. Really satisfying. So top marks to them. I mean, it just seems to be getting better every week, and I wish I could figure out what's going on with Jack Crusher, but I'm just scratching my head with that one, and I'm loving that because it's making me look forward to next week constantly, which is the point, right? So that's amazing. Loved all that. One thing, by the way, I noticed, and again, I don't know whether it's anything, but I noticed these things. So you've mentioned about the phasers in this, and you get quite a good look at them when they're on the holodeck and Picard's turned off the safety protocols and he pulls one from under the bar, and Rose got one on him. But the phaser that Jack Crusher uses when he has his vision is a very different phaser. It looks almost like an original series.
It does. It looks like a TOS.
Yeah, and again, I don't know whether
series 2
whether that's in there for a reason, or whether it's that was just the prop that he had that day, or what. But it's the fact that they're putting so many Easter eggs and they're being so intentional with stuff. It just makes me wonder if there's I don't know what, but whether there's something there as well. It was very odd. I noticed I noticed silly things like that, but this was just such fun. I was so sad that we had to lose Ro Laren, but I thought the way that all happened, made total sense for the story and the character.
Absolutely. I mean, it was just a great wrap up to that arc. Back to the Jack Crusher thing quick.
Yes.
I feel like we've seen the branching effect that surrounds him at times in some other alien race, and I cannot place it.
Right.
I just want to throw that out there. Does it ring any specific bells for you? Anybody watching? I feel like we've seen it. The closest thing I can think of, we've got the AI tentacles from season 1, but it doesn't quite look like that. It doesn't quite look like one of the Voyager alien species either. I don't know. There's something there.
Yeah, I wish I could figure it out, but I can't. I actually don't know what's every time I come up with a theory, it doesn't like thinking about them being changelings, and I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense because of the especially with Beverly, the things she's referencing and the memories and stuff, and I really don't know. And then obviously had the Borg ideas, but again, that doesn't really fit into what's going on here. There's still a huge amount of mystery here. We've still got this missing bits and pieces from the Daystrom Institute. Lots, and I wish I had better theories to make this more entertaining, but at the same time, I'm kind of just enjoying the ride. to be perfectly honest, it is so entertaining at this point that I really do think they're doing a fantastic job, and I'm so happy with this. But I'm sure I'm just trying to think. I'm going over the episode in my head because, as I said, I've only seen it the once, and just wondering what else there was to. I mean, I found the whole autopsy thing. I did like the fact that LaForge came and saw her corpse before the autopsy, and ended up vomiting. I thought that was quite funny, as you would, I'm sure. And you know, and the fact that this is huge now, like this conspiracy, she said, it's in Starfleet at the highest level.
Yeah.
And of course, this is all leading up to the what do they call it? The celebration, Frontier Day. Is that what they're calling it? Yeah. So it's like the 250th anniversary of Frontier Day. Yeah, and they've got these weapons plus stuff we haven't seen yet. So yeah, my mind is still racing, but I don't know whether I can actually add anything.
I can't. I loved it. I wanted to hear what you thought.
I'm glad you're on board now after it taking a few episodes.
5 episodes, yeah.
Yeah. Are you still liking Captain Liam Shaw?
I mean, I think my opinion has not changed. That, like, I don't understand why they had to code him as such a bad guy. Like, I don't get it. But I do think it is very funny now and enjoyable. You know, or maybe the way to say it is that when they were coding him as a jerk in the first episodes, it didn't fit. Now they're coding him as a jerk and it is working. It is firing on all cylinders. Right down to, you know, his dumping the rap sheet on Picard and Riker in the transport, humming in the transport, and getting them to be like, could you stop that? Like, it's perfect now. It's pitch perfect. Yeah.
Great. Well, have you got anything else to add then, Pete, or do we
No, I think we should rank it, right? Is that what's
we get
next?
onto our ranking system? So I know, you know, it's been at lower officer level for you for a few weeks. So where are we this time?
I mean, I don't know how this episode could have been better. So I think it has to be a captain.
Yes, we're both on the same page with this one. Going on enjoyment factor alone, I would also go captain with this one. As I said, I've been sort of somewhere between commander and lieutenant commander on previous episodes, but yeah, this was so, the whole Ro Laren stuff was so satisfying and so not obvious, and I was so tense not knowing whether it was real or not for you know, the first half of the episode. That was great. Yeah. Even the Worf fake out, I thought they can't, but for a second I was hesitating. Did they actually do that? So
I was
between all those things,
I was sure they did it, and I was upset at them for doing it, and then it just worked. It just worked.
Okay. So have you got anything to add then, Pete, or are you happy to?
I'm happy. I'm really looking forward to next week.
Me too. So let's go ahead and open the channel. So Pete, where can people reach us if they want to?
The Let's See What's Out There podcast is available on all social medias as LSWOT cast, or you can email us at lswotcast@gmail.com. Like Keith mentioned earlier, please do like, subscribe, and rate our podcast wherever you find good podcasting apps. Keith, where can people find more of you and your work?
Yeah, well, as I said, if you're watching this on YouTube, please do put comments down below if you've got anything in particular you want to add. You can find us obviously at Home Media Minefield on other social media platforms and apps. You can also find my more creative work at British Isles, which is EYLES. It's a separate YouTube channel, and I've got some short films that I've written, produced, directed, etc. on that channel. So please do check that out as well. Also, a couple of shout outs and thank yous. Our theme music is done by Neil Myers. You can find more of his work at neilmyersmusic.com. And our logo for the show, which is this logo, the artwork is done by William McLaughlin. William's work can be found on social media at WASM, WASM _official. So, yeah, please do check out his wonderful artwork as well while you're at it. But there you go, Pete. We did it. We got quite a tight episode this time, less than an hour. There you go. So we rattled through it. I'm looking forward to next week's episode, and I'm looking forward to coming back and doing more. And I'm glad we got this one out on a timely fashion.
Indeed.
So if you are watching this, thank you so much. As I said, please consider sharing, liking, subscribing, all of that stuff. And thank you, Pete, for joining me from the other side of the Atlantic.
Thank you, Keith, for hosting. Yeah.
We will see you next time on
Let's See What's Out There.
See What's Out There. Bye for now.